Hey guys, this is James and you're tuning into my YouTube channel in Jamesland. This is a special episode of my YouTube channel. This is my first official YouTube video. This is a new series I've developed called James Apple, to where we will be discussing the ins and the outs of Apple in its entirety, and I will be doing reviews about Apple products. So this is a very special, and this is episode 1, and we will be diving directly deep into WWDC 2020. And without further ado, let's get into it. So with iOS 14, CarPlay has become a very interesting thing, because now you can change the screen and everything from it being light to dark mode on the wallpaper. It's kind of very efficient that way. And it's a very interesting thing with that. And of course, Apple Car Key is a very interesting thing without having to bring your key around everywhere you go with you. It's good, and it's also bad in the fact that if you lose your smartphone, you lose your car. So it's a kind of a give or take situation. Translator app with texting and in Safari and its own app is a very interesting thing, and everything in that app is very privacy. Siri is getting smarter. That's a big plus in my book, because Siri, for its almost 10-year period, almost 10-year period, other AI systems like Alexa and Google have just bitten it to dust. And this can just put the edge back into Siri being great again, or Siri being greater than it once was. Let's just say that. And also multitasking is coming to the iPhone. If you watch a movie and you need to do a text to somebody, then you can do that. The same applies for FaceTime or anything else you're doing. I know there's a lot of Android fans that are saying, oh, we already got this. But granted, Apple takes time to perfect things to their entirety. They do not rush the process, and that's why I have so much respect for them. With that being out the way, let's go into Maps is getting a new upgrade with an EV tracking system by the electric car. If you own an electric car, basically is that if you're going to a route and that route has a charging station, you can go to that charging station, which I find very interesting. Siri isn't taking up much of the screen, and that's another thing that I wanted to make a way for Siri, is that it's not taking away the screen. So that is a big plus in my eyes. And now we're going on to iPadOS 14. So with iPadOS 14, the thing that I like about it is it has all the iOS 14 features, but in an iPad with some additional features, like Scribble, to where it's like I can be on an iPad right here, and I can have my Apple Pencil right here, if I can get it out. And I could basically scribble right here, and it would just come out to text. So that's a very interesting thing for iPadOS. And also Apple Music is getting a big upgrade from it being a more fuller app in the screen, because for the most part, it would just used to be on one toggle on the right, but now it's on the left, and the Genius lyrics are coming down. So that's a very interesting thing, that they brought something from tvOS to the iPad, which is a very interesting thing. The search engine has become better without taking a portion of the screen. The same thing applies for the iOS 14 upgrade. So it's good to have those iOS 14 and iPadOS 14s. So that's great for both of them. Now let's get into watchOS 7. The changes in the watch face to be more open source is very interesting to me. The next thing is the activity with new fitness, with the fitness app. Now they included dancing, they include dance now. The third thing that's very interesting is the fact of the matter is that when you wash your hands, it will give you a 20 notification bubbles to say that, and it'll give you a notification saying that, hey, you didn't wash your hands properly. So it gives people kind of accountability because of this whole pandemic that's going on right now. So that's a very interesting thing to me. Of course, Maps has been upgraded the same way as iPadOS and iOS 14. And the fact of the matter is that the bicycle app on the screen is very much intuitive now, or not say bicycle, the Maps side of it with cycling around big city landmarks like Los Angeles, Shanghai, Beijing, and I believe they're bringing a lot more to the Maps application soon. So we're gonna have to figure out what that is. But of course, the Siri language is within iOS 14 and iPadOS 14 is coming over. Now that is a very interesting thing for the watchOS 7. Now let's get into HomeKit. Automation on devices of open source with home devices with privacy in mind. They've discussed about privacy, the biggest toll of the whole keynote. Like, privacy was number one. So this was at the top of their pinnacle level. So they always put our privacy more than others, and a lot of companies can't say that, to where it's like they had a policy like that, but because they didn't find that was the better route into getting more money, they decided to go they decided to go left. So it's good that they're doing that with the HomeKit and HomePod, and maybe we'll have a HomePod OS system soon. Now let's get into tvOS. tvOS is switching between users. That's kind of an interesting thing because it's a Mac app, and that's great. Workouts on the app, I think we're long overdue. And also keeping with the news and its various multitasking features. That's very interesting. Also, they were talking about Apple TV Plus and all the new shows, which I find Foundation is very much a very interesting show to me because, wow, that show looks amazing when it comes out in 2021. I'll make sure to buy some Apple device so I can get that Apple TV Plus for another year. So that's a very interesting things. And they also talked about Apple TV reaching 10 billion views. And of course, HomePod features on tvOS has improved tenfold to whatever abysmal features that they had before has now been revamped, so to speak. So that's very interesting. And the wild cards, so I'm going to go into what I thought of the wild cards of the event. The wild card of the event were the AirPods Pro. The reason why I thought there were the wild cards in it because we didn't get no news, rumors, or anything about the AirPods Pro, other than the fact that what Apple showed off, and which was very interesting, that the AirPods have automatic switching. Basically, if I'm on my iPhone and I'm listening to a podcast and I'd like to watch Defending Jacob on my iPad, I can do so. And if I have a Zoom call on my MacBook that is running Big Sur, then I can go to that. My attention goes to that laptop and it goes through, and the audio goes through there. So it's very interesting. And unfortunately for people that have first gen AirPods and second gen AirPods, unfortunately, you're out of the loop on this one. And in addition to those features, we also have spatial audio. And spatial audio, for the most part, is the fact of the matter is that wherever you tune your head to, it will put in a lot of bass, like Dolby Atmos product level type of sound in your ears, and you don't hear any external noise. You just only hear the internal noise, so to speak. So that's a very interesting thing. So if you plan to buy some AirPods Pro for $90 on the student/teachers discount, go on. That extra $90 might be worth your money. Now, going on to the two main events for this year is macOS Big Sur. Big Sur, the app icons have changed, and I kind of like it, and I kind of like the layout, one of the layouts of the whole landmark itself with the mountains and the ocean, because I'm Jamaican. I love me some ocean, and I love me some bush. So I like the screensaver of that. I don't like the colorful rainbow one. Unfortunately, that's not for me. It's not my cup of tea, unfortunately. And the control toggles have changed. Everything on macOS Big Sur has changed for the better. It's just a more updated, a revamped version, because for the most part, macOS was just left in the dust. It was only its second child. It was like the third stepchild on Apple's priority list. And it's good to know that in this event, this was the main thing. So with everything going on with macOS Big Sur, and of course the Safari features that make privacy like extremely beneficial. On top of everything that we got going on for Big Sur, the thing that I like the most is the fact of the matter is that photos are more accessible on this device, which it wasn't before. So this is, and also Safari and it getting almost VPN level of privacy, which is very interesting, and how websites track you, this, that, and the third. And one more thing, Apple is getting their own chips in their own laptops. So starting by the end of this year, the first product, I hope, is a MacBook Pro 13-inch. Let's kind of cross our fingers there. Is that of the fact of the matter is that for the most part in Apple's history, they've always had a chip manufacturer, and Apple just doesn't like the fact of being at the mercy of another company. And so this was a very much an intuitive, kind of played out strategy on their part, and kudos to their research and development, like Sonja J, and I probably mispronounced his name. Sanjay, I can't pronounce his name. The Indian guy that was showing off the Apple Silicon chip and what it can and can't do, and how the battery life on it is very interesting. And that is a very interesting thing. Of course, I have to get into disappointments about the event. There were no product lines of any kind. There was no AirTags, there was no HomePod Mini, there wasn't anything of the sort. So I was kind of bummed out that, we didn't get like a new product. So, I mean, that's about it for it. And, of course, but of course, it's kind of like with everything. It's kind of like you have highs and you have lows, you have amazing stories, and then you have disappointing stories. So, but that's are my thoughts on the WWDC 2020, is that there's a lot of promising things including with iOS 14, iPadOS 14, watchOS 7, macOS Big Sur, the Apple Silicon chips in the Mac lineup, and AirPods Pro update, tvOS, and Apple TV content coming soon. And there you have it. That is my WWDC 2020 review. I hope you have a wonderful day, and thank you for subscribing to my channel and staying tuned for the next. So this is a James Apple episode 1, the WWDC 2020 review. And you guys have a wonderful day. Peace. Hey guys, one more thing I forgot to mention. The guy that I said that was Indian at the end of my video, this is kind of in the editing process, but I would like to give the person that I was thinking about at the time was Johnny Sharuji. He is one of the VPs in developing Apple chips for the new Apple Silicon chips. And of course, I'd like to make my disclaimer to say that WWDC 2020 from a production standpoint was amazing. Thank you guys, and you guys have a great rest of your day. All right, peace.